Hey guys, Dan here with this week's TV news and reviews. Welcome to the show. We're actually going to do a pretty short one this time around because at some point a few months back, I sort of fell like a week behind. Like there was a few weeks where like the videos were sort of 8 days apart, 9 days apart instead of every 6 or 7 days. So I'm going to actually try and do two TV news and reviews videos this week. One at the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week, and sort of catch up in that way. But there are a handful of new shows to tackle, so we'll look at that maybe in the next edition. But for this one, we're going to look at three brand new game shows. One of them actually is a game show revival, but three new game shows. So this is sort of the fall 2020 game show review episode. I do have a little bit of news though, so we can talk about that before we get into the review portion. A couple of renewals. So Cobra Kai, which is going from YouTube Red to Netflix. The first two seasons are already on Netflix and are getting huge numbers. You know, they've been in the top 10 pretty much ever since they went up a few weeks ago. They were number one for several days. And that has already been renewed now for season 4. So season 3 has been filmed. YouTube, I guess, originally footed the bill for it and then decided, well, we're kind of going to be out of the scripted game, so we're not going to do it anymore, but feel free to shop it around because it's owned by Sony. So Sony brought it to Netflix after, a couple different outlets were interested. And season 3 is going to premiere in the beginning of January. I think it's January 8th. So we're a full 3 months away from that. And we already have word now that there will be a season 4 of Cobra Kai. So for those of you that love that show, I have not gotten into it yet. I guess I'm sort of waiting for season 3, and then maybe I'll just binge right up until then. But people mostly love it. I hear the second season is a little bit different from the first, a little more uneven maybe, but I know a lot of people that love that show, so that's good news for them. And then Billions on Showtime, one of their, at this point, flagship shows, is entering into season 5, and they're going to up Corey Stoll to a regular performer. He's been, I guess, recurring. I've never seen this show, but it's very popular. Corey Stoll, you might not know by his name, but you've seen him in a bunch of different things. He is a bald dude. He's, I don't know, in his mid-40s. He's been in Black Mass. He was in Ant-Man. He's been in, some big things, and he's done, a lot of TV work as well. So he's going to be on the next season of Billions as a regular character. And then we have one cancellation for you as well, and that's on Netflix too. And that is the animated show F is for Family. People love this show, and Netflix has done pretty well with the adult animation. Obviously, BoJack Horseman and Big Mouth have both been received very well by both audiences and critics, and both made it to 6 years. Big Mouth, I think, has not officially been canceled yet. That is getting a 6th season, but it hasn't been announced that will be its last. So it could get even more than that, which would be rare for Netflix. At this point in time, Netflix usually will only go about 3 seasons for something unless it is really, really, critically received and as well watched by a lot of people. Like Stranger Things is sort of the anomaly lately. Like when Netflix first started, you had Orange is the New Black, Grace and Frankie, House of Cards. Like they all ran many seasons, but anymore it's typically 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky, and then you get to go. Now, Cobra Kai is a little bit of a different story because they didn't even produce the first 2 seasons, so obviously a lot more eyeballs are on that than got to see it on YouTube where you had to pay for it. So F is for Family is getting a season 5, but that will be the last season for that. And many people, kind of upset about that. Another one, that I know has gotten a lot of buzz. I have not watched it. So also in news, in non-renewal / cancellation, well, I guess it's a little bit of cancellation type news, but Cops, which got canceled in the summer, I think in June, in the wake of all the George Floyd stuff, Black Lives Matter. So Live PD got canceled, Cops got canceled. Well, it's still filming. This was a very interesting news story. So, it started filming about a month ago in Washington, in Spokane, which is where I guess they filmed the last few seasons. And it used to be like when I was a kid and Cops was new, every week was like a different locale. So you'd have, Cops Philly, Cops Miami, Cops, whatever. And but I guess the last few years it's been largely in Spokane, Washington. So these episodes they're filming now through November are not going to air in the U.S., but the show still airs internationally. And the problem is when the show got canceled very abruptly, they had all these, episodes for a new season, and contractually, in international territories, they're still running these episodes, and I guess all the reruns too. So, in order to kind of fulfill those contracts, they're still filming Cops. It's crazy because nobody's talking about it really. Like the only reason I know about it is because I specifically seek out television production news every week. But yeah, believe it or not, Cops is still filming and will air internationally, and I guess. I don't know. To me, international Cops just gives other countries more of a reason to laugh at us, because we're not shown in a very good light, I don't think, in Cops, But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. So let's move on here to the reviews. We have, like I said, it's sort of the 2020 game show, new game show spectacular here that we're going to talk about. So we have three game shows that just went up the last week or two. I wanted to wait until Supermarket Sweep came on with Leslie Jones. That's going to be on ABC, but that's not till the end of the month. So I figured let's just do these now. If I feel like doing Supermarket Sweep with the regular TV news and reviews show, I will do that. Sometimes I do review game shows on there, but let's talk about I Can See Your Voice. Obviously, I do Masked Singer videos all the time here on my YouTube channel. They get me a ton of views. People love, to guess along with me with the masks. So Fox decided to double down on its Ken Jeong quotient and has now given him his own show. Now this, like Masked Singer, is based on a Korean game show. I think Masked Singer is Korean as well, but this one's definitely Korean. It is called I Can See Your Voice. It airs Wednesday nights after the Masked Singer. Although I guess it won't air this week because of the vice presidential debate. I believe that's on Wednesday at 9. But anyway, they've aired a couple so far. And so here's the basic format of the show. So there is a contestant that comes on for the whole hour. It's their show. They're the only contestant for the hour, which is pretty commonplace nowadays. We see this with The Wall and the one with Dax Shepard, Spin the Wheel. These are just, one person or, couples going for the whole hour, and that's what this is. So we have 6 singers, and we have no idea whether they're good singers or bad singers, but we get clues. They have different rounds, like one round they're lip syncing, and in another round we learn, a few factoids about them or whatever. And so each round, the contestant has to eliminate one person. And originally, they have to eliminate one from, really 2 from the 6, because they're eliminating one of the 3 and one of the other group of 3. And then that group sort of combines into now there's only 4 left, and so each one we eliminate 1. And we don't know how many are good and how many are bad of the 6. We know there's at least one good one in there because we need to have one good one standing to win the $10,000 prize. So that's basically it. I mean, we don't hear them sing until the very end of the thing where, the end of the round, we'll hear them sing. Usually it's to themselves, sometimes with an instrument, sometimes not, but it's, a backing track. But then the final round, the final person that's chosen will sing with the week's celebrity singer. And so there's a panel of 5 people the whole time. So the first episode, Nick Lachey was the singer. So he duetted with the person, and even he didn't know if the guy was a good singer or bad singer until they sang. But the second episode, which I have not watched yet, is Jordan Sparks, and then we have, I think, Nicole Scherzinger coming up in episode 3, which makes sense. She's Ken Jeong's buddy from The Masked Singer. All right, so first of all, I thought this would be incredibly stupid, and it mostly is. I thought The Masked Singer would be incredibly stupid, and it's sort of stupid, but also it's a fun guessing game. This, there isn't, it's not, I mean, it's sort of a guessing game, I guess, because you as the audience member are also sort of trying to figure out if you think this person can sing or not, just like the contestant, but, the issue here is we're not guessing celebrities. We don't know these people from Adam, so there's really no indicators except for, how well they lip sync and how well we think that their lip sync matches the audio track, because it's supposed to be them singing, and if they're a good singer, it is them singing. If they're a bad singer, it's dubbed. So, you're sort of supposed to pick up kind of clues from that. One of my problems with this show is there's too many people on the panel. There's 5 panelists helping this contestant. I think 3 would have sufficed, and each episode is different except for Cheryl Hines and Adrienne Houghton, who was Adrienne Bailon when she did The Masked Singer. She was one of the singers in season 2, which I didn't know her when she was on The Masked Singer. Jenny McCarthy knew who she was pretty quickly, and she's a good singer, so she made it pretty far, but I had no idea who she was. But now I guess her last name is Houghton, so she's on, Cheryl Hines is on. They are every week. And then this first episode was Nick Lachey, Kelly Osbourne, and Arsenio Hall. I think you could have 1 to 2 regular people, and then the third person or the fourth person be the singer, the Nick Lachey, the Jordan Sparks, that's going to sing at the end with the person. But quite honestly, I don't think we need 5 people, because the thing is, none of them know if the person can sing or not. They're just sort of giving their quote-unquote advice, but, what advice? I love Cheryl Hines. She's very funny. I saw her last night on an episode of The Match Game. She's fine. She's great on Curb, but, I don't, she's not a professional singer, so why is she on the regular panel of this show? Arsenio Hall, okay, I mean, he had a lot of singers on his show back in the day. Kelly Osbourne, that makes sense. And Adrienne Houghton makes sense, because she was part of the Cheetah Girls and all that stuff. But, I don't know, why do we need 5 panelists to tell us what they think? So that's a little much. And then, look, Ken Jeong is, I think, a pretty acquired taste. I have not quite acquired that taste after watching The Masked Singer for a few years. I mean, I liked it when he first came on the scene, like in The Hangover and stuff. I liked him on the first few seasons of Community that I watched. But lately, his last 5+ years, that sitcom Dr. Ken was horrible. And on The Masked Singer, look, he's designed to be the clown. He guesses people who would never do the show in a million years. Oh, it's Michelle Obama, everybody. I'd know her voice anywhere. It's like, dude, Michelle Obama ain't doing the show. But look, that's his sort of character. And either you like that or you don't. I think it's okay on The Masked Singer because it's also, tempered by some of the other panelists. Here, he's the host. Now, granted, there are 5 panelists here that sort of he's having a back and forth with. But he is no doubt the host of the show. He does okay at the hosting, but then he gets into the whole Ken, attempt at comedy kind of thing. So, look, bottom line is, this show is stupid. But I think we all knew it was going to be stupid. It's a matter of how entertaining is it. I think it is mildly entertaining. I like a good guessing game as much as the next person. So I did enjoy in this episode trying to guess the singers along with the contestant. So it is fun enough to watch. It's not something that I will necessarily seek out. I'm not going to pull this up on Hulu and watch an episode of I Could See You Sing. But if it was on, or if I was at my brother's place or my parents' place or something, and they were watching it, I would watch it. and it's enjoyable enough. But I think there's too many panelists, and I think Ken is a very acquired taste, and I just think the concept is silly. But I knew the concept was silly going in, so I don't know how much of a factor that is in my grade, because it is sort of I think they did some interesting things with the concept, but it's still a very silly and kind of stupid concept. So I will leave I Can See Your Voice with a C. And honestly, I think that might be generous, but it was at least entertaining. So up next, we're going to talk about The Weakest Link. This is a revival show on NBC. The original ran in the early 2000s, back when the big primetime game show boom was happening. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire sort of kicked that off, and then we had Weakest Link and Deal or No Deal, both over on NBC, that were doing gangbusters. Good enough that each one got a syndicated version as well. We, of course, know the Millionaire syndicated version ran for, 18 years or whatever. But Howie did the Deal or No Deal syndicated version, and George Gray, who is now the announcer on Price is Right, he did the syndicated Weakest Link, which I happened to see live, actually. Did they do it up in New York, or was I in L.A.? I guess I was in L.A. visiting my friend. It was actually the first show I ever saw live, other than I saw David Letterman years and years ago. But, in terms of like a game show, first game show I've ever seen live was the syndicated version of The Weakest Link. So this version is hosted by Jane Lynch, which we know, of course, from her other game show on NBC, Hollywood Game Night, which goes great guns. I mean, that's in, season 8 or something? And, of course, we know her from her great acting gigs as well, most notably probably her role in Glee as Sue Sylvester. So when I first heard she was going to be the host, I was a little bit unsure because, of course, she could do the whole nasty thing. She was very nasty as Sue on Glee, but we see her on Hollywood Game Night. Yeah, she's a little bit snarky, but, I feel like the host of The Weakest Link needs to be actually, sort of downright nasty. That's the whole point. Ann Robinson led the original version. So if you're unfamiliar with the concept, basically you have 8 people, and it's a rapid-fire question. They do rounds of it, I think 8 rounds total. No, there's 8 contestants, but I think they do maybe 6 rounds total. Anyway, until they get to, the bottom 2 people, or top 2 people, I should say. But the last 2 standing is what I mean. But it's rapid-fire questions, and basically goes from person to person. The money goes up with every correct answer in the chain, but if you don't bank the money, the person that gets a wrong answer, the bank goes down to 0, and you have to start the chain over. And then at the end of the round, everyone left everybody on the show decides who was the weakest link, whether they actually were the weakest link or not. Did they answer the least amount of questions? Did they bank the least amount of money? We, the audience, know because the announcer tells us, so-and-so, was the weakest link statistically because they answered no questions right and got no money banked. This person, answered one of their 2 questions right, but they banked the most money, so they're the strongest link. So we as the audience know that, but they don't. So they have to gauge who the weakest link is from their minds, and the one with the most votes gets the boot and does not come back. So then we're down to 7, same thing. Then we're down to 6, same thing. So it goes on and on like that. And this is basically the exact same everything as the original Ann Robinson version. The money is different. The money is bigger. I think in the Ann Robinson version, the money stayed the same in each round. Here, the money goes up and the clock goes down a little bit. They shave 10 seconds off the clock with every round. And my guess would be that's probably to fit in an extra commercial break or something. Because, back in 2000, shows ran a little bit longer than they do now. Because now there's too many commercials. So my guess is that's why they did that. I mean, it's the same number of rounds, I guess, but when you take off, 10 seconds per each round, then obviously you get a few extra commercials in there. But other than that, the game is exactly the same. The set looks the same. The sound effects are the same. and Jane Lynch doing her best sort of, snarky, mean host, coming up with more and more metaphors for how stupid the contestants are and telling them, oh, out of a possible $100,000 that round, they only banked a pathetic 8,500. Okay, we got it. I have mixed feelings about Jane Lynch hosting the show because I love her on Hollywood Game Night. I think she's a great Sue Sylvester, but that was a very specific scripted character. Here she's just being Jane Lynch. And the great thing about Anne Robinson over on the British Weakest Link was we didn't know her. She came from the British version when they aired it on NBC here. But we didn't know her, so she could be as bitchy as she wanted to be, and we wouldn't think oh, what a horrible person. It was just kind of funny. Jane Lynch is a little bit funny, and there were a couple times where she had some nice interplay with the contestants. One good thing about Jane Lynch being the host is we do know her, so the contestants also know her, and they can have a little bit of a back and forth with her. So it's like a double-edged sword. That's why I'm sort of on the fence about how I feel about her hosting. But she's a great host. I mean, I can't deny that, but in terms of the snarkiness, I don't know if it all comes across or if it comes across as her trying too hard. I definitely felt that a few times as well. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. But other than that, I mean, I've always loved The Weakest Link because of the rapid-fire trivia questions. I think Jeopardy's probably the only show that gives you more questions in the time frame. I think, Millionaire, for a little while, Millionaire had a timer, but even then, the timer was 45 seconds, a minute, for a question. So you still had a good amount of time. This is maybe the round is a minute and 30 seconds, and they'll get through, 12, 13, 14 questions in that 90 seconds. So it's very rapid fire, and I've always liked that about The Weakest Link. And the questions also range from the very easy. One guy literally got asked, what in the U.S. what date is Christmas on? And it's okay, that's pretty easy. But then there's also some very difficult questions about authors and science and stuff like that maybe people didn't know, and they never really talk about that when they say the statistics. Yeah, okay, this guy was the strongest link, but he answered a question about what day Christmas is, and this other person, had a question about what, Hermes handbags, and he's a dude, he doesn't know. So, whatever. But so it's very interesting that the range of questions. Jeopardy, I always feel a little stupid watching because usually there's one pop culture category and I rock that, and then the rest of the episode I'm I don't know any of this. On occasion I'll know one of them, but it's rare. This is much more balanced, so I've always liked that as well. So look, I can't give this show an incredibly high grade because it's just a rehash. It's the same exact show, basically, as the original Anne Robinson version. But I think Jane Lynch is a good host for this. I don't think she's a great host for this. I think she's a good, competent host for this. So I will leave the new version of Weakest Link with a B. I mean, I think maybe B+, if I thought Jane wasn't trying a little too hard sometimes with the snarkiness. But other than that, I mean, I really, this is one I will watch every week. It's right in the vein for me of the old ABC, or the new ABC, I should say, rehashes of the old shows. Press Your Luck, Match Game, Card Sharks. I love all of those. And really, they're the exact same, pretty much. The setup is the same. Press Your Luck has a new bonus round because it's now an hour instead of a half hour. But, Match Game is exactly the same. Celebrity Family Feud is, of course, the same. So this is in that same vein. It's the exact same show, just with a different host. All right, so finally we have Sing On. This is on Netflix. It debuted a couple of weeks ago, and it's hosted by Titus Burgess from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And it is 8 episodes long. That is up right now. And this is a legitimate singing competition. And it is a technical competition as well, not just what judges think, like American Idol or The Voice. This is a technical competition, and it starts with 6 contestants, and there is a specific song that they all have to sing. None of them know what parts they're going to sing. They, I guess, come up on the screen or whatever. We don't see that part, but I guess they see who needs to sing when. And I assume they have the lyrics up, but they just don't know who's going to be doing what lines right away. And there's like a, I don't know what you call it, some kind of machine, though, that measures how close the person is to the actual, you know, note of the original version. So it's sort of like a karaoke show. Like, The Voice in American Idol, you're sort of putting your own spin on the songs. You don't necessarily want to sound like a carbon copy. Here you are trying to sound exactly like the original artist. And so they grade you, based on that. You get a percentage. The best singer is safe from the next, or from elimination, and then we move on. So when I first was going to do these 3 shows, I thought Sing On would be much closer to I Can See Your Voice, because they're both sort of singing competitions. But this is actually a lot closer to The Weakest Link, because at the end of each round, they all vote on who they think needs to go. And sometimes, like in Weakest Link, you vote off who you think is the strongest competitor and you don't want to go up against them. Or sometimes you vote off who you think stinks so you can get more money. Because much like Weakest Link, the more precise people are here, the bigger the bank gets. So it's very interesting. I never thought Sing On would be more akin to Weakest Link than it is to I Can See Your Voice, but here we are. So in that respect, it's almost exactly the same. Now, Weakest Link, nobody is safe. You could vote for anybody if you want. But here, they make sure that the person that gets the highest percentage of the notes correct moves on automatically to the next round. And so it's very interesting. When it gets down to 2 people, Titus will give them the option, will give the person who scored highest in the previous round the option of what song they want to pick. They give you 2 songs. The first episode, which is what I watched, was Wrecking Ball, and I forget the other one, but they picked Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball was one of the songs maybe in the main game. I forget now. And they did like Moves Like Jagger, Wrecking Ball, Dynamite by Taio Cruz. I forget maybe what the final 2 songs were. But anyway, so the one picks that got the highest percentage, and then the other one has to sing the first notes of it, so to kind of get the ball rolling. And then the winner wins everything that's banked. And it's more money than I Can See Your Voice, I can tell you that. I think in the first episode, it was something like 30-some thousand. I mean, it was a lot of money, especially for like a Netflix game show. Like, it seems like it would be more lower budget, but not so much. So very, very interesting. It's a fun show. I like karaoke. I like singing karaoke. I like going to karaoke. I haven't done it in a long time, even before COVID. It's been a while since I've done it, but I used to go all the time. I used to get up there and give it my all. So I think it's interesting that they're actually like measuring how close you are to the original performer. I think that's a new wrinkle. Titus is a very fun host, which I would figure he would be. He hosts a show on Quibi that when I did the Is Quibi Worth It video, I saw, and I really liked it. It was one of my favorite things Quibi had to offer. Unfortunately, I really haven't caught up with Quibi. I think I'm still paying for it, sadly. But it was some show about, it was some like gay-themed show, I think. I forget what the concept even was, but it was pretty enjoyable. But he's a very fun host. He's another one that will go on the new Match Game as a panelist, and he's always funny on there. And what's nice about this is he will sing a little bit with the contestants from here or there, and he sings like in the intro and stuff. But he really does kind of let the contestants shine, which is something that I think these shows kind of need. Like, you can get a little lost with the host trying to make it all about them when it really kind of needs to, like, they need to be there and be entertaining, but it needs to be all about the contestants. And I think Titus pulls back enough to let that happen. So I liked that about it. Concept wise, it is pretty much The Weakest Link, but with music instead of trivia. So I can't give it too much points for originality, I suppose. I suppose it's probably a lot like MTV did a show in the 90s called Say What Karaoke. And I forget how that kind of went, but it was a karaoke type singing competition. So what separates this from like Idol or The Voice is there's no judges, there's no panel, there's no home vote. It's just this machine tells you how you did, and then they vote against each other. So I think it's interesting. I thought it was fun. It's not something maybe that I'll keep watching because I am definitely more into like trivia shows than I am. There needs to be some kind of trivia component to really capture my attention. Even like Spin the Wheel or The Wall, there's like they pepper in little trivia questions here or there for the for the points or for how many spins you get or whatever it is. So there's no trivia component here, so I doubt I'll keep watching it. But if you like singing, if you like karaoke stuff, it's definitely worth your time. I think I'm going to leave Sing On with a B. So there it is. That's all. I'll be back hopefully later in the week. Hopefully, like maybe Friday or Saturday, with another full TV news and reviews episode where we'll do 6 new shows. There's a lot to catch up on. It's funny. I thought sort of with COVID shutting everything down in Hollywood and the fall season not starting really till like late October or January for some networks that we wouldn't have that many shows, but there are still quite a few shows out there because networks have gotten them from other outside sources, other networks, other countries, and of course, like I talked about last week, this time last year we didn't have HBO Max, we didn't have Peacock, we didn't have Apple Plus, so all of those are constantly putting up new shows too. So I will have 6 new shows for you to review in a few days' time, but wanted to get at least one more TV news and reviews out there to kind of catch up from the week that I missed at some point. It's not like I missed a full week, they were kind of being more and more spread out, and instead of doing it every week. So subscribe below if you haven't yet. Please comment if you liked any of these game shows, if you've seen any of them yet. Let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.